My company's first event as a vendor at a college fair was a massive failure, and an extraordinary disappointment. This happened yesterday. So this is not a story of yesteryear. This is a story of yesterday. I'm recording this on Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, and everything I am describing happened Saturday, February 1st. Happy Black History Month. I am in Los Angeles for this fair. So first, I am the founder of Colo Culture. My name is Desiree Tunstall, and I am the founder of Colo Culture. Colo, K-O-L-O, Culture. We produce handmade African Print Graduation Sashes to help students honor their past and celebrate their future on their special day of graduation. So I came out to this college fair because there were students here, parents here, all in the age and demographic of the audience we are trying to reach. Now, this particular college fair travels to multiple places throughout the U.S. One of those places is Washington, D.C. I am from Northern Virginia, and my parents still live in Northern Virginia. So when I first learned about this event, I signed up for the DC Fair and the DC Fair only, because it's not complicated to drive from Northern New Jersey down to DC to stay with my folks and to attend the fair. That was, very simple and straightforward proposition. After I registered for the DC Fair, though, I received communication from the event coordinators telling me that they had visited our website, saw our products, and believed that we would do very well at some of their other events. Now, at first, I wasn't sure how to make, what to make of that, but I decided I would follow up with them and investigate further. So I did, and they shared with me that they do not have product vendors selling anything like what we offer. And I knew that to be the case because our sashes are unique. They are completely unique. They are designed by me. They're produced by our team of tailors in Senegal that I work with personally, and they are shipped directly to the United States from Senegal. So I knew there wasn't going to be anyone selling exactly what we have, but I was also informed that there was no one selling even in the category of what we offer. So that was appealing. You have an audience of people who are in our demographic, and you have a category that would really belong to us. There are other product vendors there, but they're selling other kinds of stuff. I'm holding this pen, by the way, and I may look down because I have some notes. So much happened, and I didn't want to forget anything as I was sharing. But all of this was interesting. So I decided to go ahead and register for 2 additional events. I was referred to the LA event because the LA event is their largest event. And I inquired about the audience size. They said that 20,000 people will attend the college fair. I said 20,000 people at a college fair? I have never heard of such. Now, I've seen some big events before around academia, but 20,000 people at a college fair? I was impressed by the numbers, and I also looked at their PowerPoint presentation outlining the details of the event, who they are as an organization, just additional background information. And I calculated what the investment would be. Now, I can certainly make another video about calculating the investment in things because I find that I consistently underestimate the cost of things, even when I am trying to do my due diligence and be mindful about all the line items. It's just that expenses pop up along the way, and things always, come over budget. It's almost like you need to take that budget that you have and double it, or triple it even in some cases. But anyways, so I went ahead and signed up for the Los Angeles Fair because I said, what's the likelihood that I am going to be able to put this new young business, we only launched a few months ago, what's the likelihood that I'm going to be able to put this new young business in front of 20,000 people who fall within our demographic? I have to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, I booked my flight. I put all of the event details together. And then I did an extraordinary amount of preparation work for the event. I registered for this event in the first week of November. So November 2024 is when I signed up to attend this event. I was working with our tailors to make sure that we had sufficient product. I was getting things shipped from Senegal. There were a couple of instances in the preparation process as we were producing product that I had to have them remake certain things because I hold our tailors to a very high standard. They are professional. They do an excellent job, but sometimes things slip through the cracks. And when they do, I catch them and I go back to them and say, we need to remake these, number of sashes in order for us to be able to put a high quality product in front of our customers. That's imperative. That is a non-starter to not put a high quality product in front of the people. So I was working with the tailors, making sure that we had designs, prints, options, working on quantities, getting products shipped, taking care of quality control, as I just mentioned. There were a number of things that I was working on, but also I had to sort out how do we put booth materials together, because this was the first time we'd ever presented at an event. We've never done a booth before. So I had to order a mannequin and busts and a presentation stand. Then I was trying to figure out what items should I ship directly to LA, which items should I ship to my home first. I mean, just all of the logistics around putting the booth together, the logistics around getting out here, the logistics around making sure I have product. I mean, I have lists upon lists upon lists. I mean, you're talking about an extraordinary investment in terms of time and money and energy. Also, I have a tendency to over prepare for things. I am that person. I am over prepared. I have extra of things. I guess that's a remnant from childhood. I was raised by an over preparer, and I'm over prepared in a lot of ways as well. I mean, certainly there are times when I get caught off guard, but I do my best to make sure that I am mindful about all aspects of something before I go into something. But sometimes things will just blindside you. Like that Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. I got punched in the face. I got mollywopped yesterday. I got punched, and then once I hit the ground, somebody came behind them and did that kicking that you see people do in a fight. That's how I feel. I feel like I was in a fight. It was, but certainly not a physical fight. I was in no physical harm at any point during the day. Although, actually, there is a part of the story towards the end where I don't know if I could actually say that in full. Let me continue. Let me continue. I have my notes. So anyways, I book my ticket. I get out to Los Angeles. I get a rental car. I'm all up at the Home Depot renting a dolly. I'm in the Home Depot rental center. I've never been in the Home Depot rental center a day in my life. I didn't even know that you could rent those kinds of tools from Home Depot. Man was in there getting a cement mixer. I'm behind him trying to get my dolly. So I rent a dolly. I had to go to UPS to pick up some items that I had shipped to a UPS store. I'm in LA running errands, baby. Shout out to South Sepulveda Boulevard, because there is every store that has ever been made on South Sepulveda? I think I'm saying this correctly. South Sepulveda Boulevard. I'm saying it like the GPS lady said it, so forgive me if I'm saying it incorrectly for all of you folks from Los Angeles. But anyways, I'm running errands in LA. You hear me? Errands. I even went to the T-Mobile store to purchase a hotspot. Now, I can make my phone into a hotspot, but I wanted to make sure that I had adequate Wi-Fi at the event because I wanted to be able to take chip payments. I use Shopify as our platform for e-commerce. And when you go to an in-person event, you still have to manage your inventory. What did you sell? You need to put that information into Shopify. You also need a method to be able to take payment from people. I didn't want to just say to people, Zelle me, Cash App me. Now, I had those as options, but I wanted people to also be able to use a credit card because people carry credit cards. I had some cash as well, to provide change for folks. But, as you very well know, people use credit card all the time, and you have to be ready to take what the people give. If people were out there trying to pay me in Bitcoin, I was going to find a way to accept it. I don't want to stand in the way of anyone who wants access to our products. Right? I'm not giving anybody a hard time about being my customer. I am incredibly grateful, and I'm going to do everything I can to facilitate the transaction. So I purchased this hotspot from T-Mobile and a data plan that also must come with the hotspot in order to make sure that I had adequate Wi-Fi. Now the venue has Wi-Fi, that's what I was told. But sometimes when you have thousands of people trying to use Wi-Fi, the signal can be spotty, it can be poor, or the Wi-Fi can go down. And if the Wi-Fi goes down and you're a vendor at an event, I mean, who's going to fix that for you? There's not a whole lot that can be done other than you just telling people I can't take credit card. I don't want to risk any of that. Went over to the T-Mobile store, received some great assistance from a young lady there, got a hotspot, purchased a data plan. The hotspot was working. I also had my point of sale device. I ordered a point of sale device from Shopify, so I could tap and insert cards. I mean, we are businessing at this table. So all of this is set up. I ran all of these errands. I got all of these items, and I have my table display items. I have, again, looking at my notes, I have all of my items, and I go to the event on Saturday morning. Now, we were told that load-in time starts at 7:30 a.m. because the event was supposed to be from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So I get there at 7:15 because when you go to stadiums, the parking situation is rarely straightforward. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't eat into my setup time by riding around the parking lot being lost, trying to figure out where I should be. So I get there at 7:15 and I drive to SoFi Stadium. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit of descriptor because this is very important to the story. What I'm about to share with you is critical to this story. I drive to SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium reminds me a lot of the Meadowlands in the New York area, for all of you New York and New Jersey folks, in that you have a core stadium on the property. And then there are also other event venues on the property. So you're talking about a sprawling complex, a sprawling estate of multiple buildings. And there are also smaller buildings, there are stores, there's some shopping, there are open pavilion areas, there are multiple parking lots, parking garages. There's so much going on this property. Now, again, we were told that this event was at SoFi Stadium. At SoFi Stadium. So I drive through the parking lot to the stadium, and I see people getting out of their vehicles, unloading their items. And I said, okay, I'm in the right spot. Now, before I start unloading my stuff, I go and I look for the event organizers to make sure that I'm in the right place, because I did not want to unload a bunch of stuff only to learn that I was in the wrong spot. Good on me. Good on me for that decision making, because I get to the front of the stadium, and mind you, these people who are setting up in the front of SoFi Stadium, like directly on the promenade in front of SoFi Stadium. Actually, you can't even call it the promenade. It is the entryway into the stadium. Exceptional frontage, exceptional real estate for having a booth. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, like this was a great investment. This is going to work out for me so well. I got my high hopes. You have to be optimistic as an entrepreneur. I mean, optimism is critical. Realism is critical, but optimism is critical. So I see an event organizer. I ask her where my booth is supposed to be set up. But one of the things that I'm noticing is the people who are setting up also have their own tents. And I said, I wasn't told to bring a tent. I was told that tents would be provided. Why do all these people have their own tents? And these are tents of different colors. It looks like people purchase their own tents. It's not as if they had been given a tent. So that was off to me. I asked the organizer, and she says, oh, this is for, these vendors here are associated with a different organization and a different initiative. You, talking to me, you are down there. And she points what has to be the longest arm. If you had told me that she had morphed into an NBA player at that moment, that's how long her arm felt to me in terms of where she was pointing. I followed her arm with my eyes, and I said, where am I going? And I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking. And then she says, yeah, you're going to have to drive down. Drive down? Drive down where? I drive down to another parking lot, and the college event is in a open, the best way to describe it is an open area between buildings. I mean, just imagine you have an open space between buildings, just a large open space, and buildings are around. That's the best way I can describe it. It was gravel, dirt, dust, and they had dozens and dozens of white tents set up. So I said, okay, these are the tents. And they also provided tables, and they provided a table and 2 chairs. So I see dozens and dozens of tents. I see chairs, I see tables set up, and I said, okay, I guess this is where we are. But mind you, we are not at the stadium itself. I had to drive from where I was originally down to this area. I went back into my welcome materials this morning to make sure that I did not misunderstand what was going on. Now, mind you, they provided a map, but it was unclear in the map that that location where we were supposed to be was not the actual stadium property. It was unclear to me. And also, not being familiar with SoFi Stadium, I'm sure if this event had been at the Meadowlands, because I have been to the Meadowlands a number of occasions, in northern New Jersey, out in East Rutherford, New Jersey. If this event had been in the Meadowlands, then someone could tell me a number of things where something will be, and I would know in my mind, okay, that's on that side. Okay, that's over there. But because I'm not familiar with this stadium, that small map that was given to us 1 week before the event, after we'd already registered, after I'd done all of this preparation work, was not clear to indicate that we were not actually in the stadium itself, especially since they had been communicating up until that point this event was at SoFi Stadium. So anyways, I arrived down at the Dust Bowl. That's what I'm going to call it. It was a Dust Bowl. I arrived down at the Dust Bowl, and I see lots of tents again set up, but the event organizers are also still setting up. They are setting up. Now, the tents are there, the tables are there, the chairs are there, but they don't have their event registration booth. They don't have their event registration materials out. They are still getting organized themselves. It's 7:45 at this point. People were supposed to be able to start loading in at 7:30. What's going on? Actually, it was 7:55. And the reason why I know the exact time is because one of the organizers said to me, "You're early." How can I be early when I'm 25 minutes late coming over here because I wasted time going to the wrong location? I've been on the property since 7:15. That's when I was early, but I was in the wrong spot. Now I'm over here late, but you're even later than me. I'm late, you late. So anyways, I go ahead and register, which was also frustrating. I do not like when you go places and people ask you to provide information that you've already given them. I do not like that. I do not like that. Because I feel like if you were going to collect it on site, you shouldn't have collected it in advance. If you collected it in advance, you don't need it on site. It's like when you fill out paperwork before you go to the doctor, and then you get to the doctor, and then the doctor says, can you please provide, fill out these forms and check off your pre-existing conditions? Oh no, baby. I downloaded those forms online in advance. I completed that stuff in advance. I scanned that and sent that to you in advance so I wouldn't have to sit here and do this. Anyways, so that's a frustration of mine. Some people may not mind doing stuff like that, but I do. I certainly do. So anyways, I'm providing information they already have, and then I am told where my booth number is because we had not been given a booth number in advance, and we had also not been given parking passes in advance. I forgot to mention that. When I come into the parking lot, I am talking to the parking attendant, explaining to him all the details of my life so that he doesn't charge me $50 for parking. So I'm saying to him, I'm with this event. Here's the proof of, our, of my welcome letter. But I had never been given parking information, parking pass, parking confirmation, parking validation, nothing. I'd been given none of that. So anyways, I then go to the booth that I have been assigned. So back to the booth. I go to the booth that I have been assigned, and I'm noticing that I'm in a collection of booths that is across the street from where all of the college booths are located. Now, I did know that we were not going to be interspersed with the college booths. I did know that product vendors were going to be separate. But why are we across the street? We're not even in the main thoroughfare of activity. We're not even where the people are going to be for the reason they came to the event. They didn't come to the event to shop product vendors. The idea of having product vendors at these types of events is that you are interspersed in the activity, or at least close enough to the activity such that people say, I came here for a college fair, but I see something I like. I'm going to go ahead and make a purchase. But in order to facilitate that type of thinking, you have to be in the flow of traffic. And we were not. We were off to the side, on the side of a building, on the side of a building. And there were maybe 12 or 13 other booths over there with me. The other booths did not have sides to their tent. They didn't have sides. It was the tent top and 4 poles, and then the table and the 2 chairs, which makes sense because you want people to be able to see you from all angles. The people need to be able to see what you've got going on from all angles. But my booth was set off to the side and, and it had sides. Sides. Why does this booth have sides? And when I say sides, I mean the material that is the vinyl top, that same material covered 3 sides of the booth. And so I go back over to the organizers and I say, excuse me, my booth has sides. I don't want those sides on my booth. And they said, well, there's nothing that we can do about it because a third-party company came here the day prior, meaning January 31st. A third-party company came here and set up the booths. It's like, well, who hired the third-party company? Did somebody spontaneously just decide to come here and set up booths and you just so happened to have an event here? No, you hired that company. You hired those people. Why does this booth have sides? And I want them down. The event organizer says to me, and when I say event organizer, I'm referring to a collection of people. I'm not referring to just one individual. These are the people working for the event. The event organizer says to me, well, I would think that you would want the sides. It will make the booth exclusive. Exclusive? I didn't fly all the way to Los Angeles, 3,000 miles from my home, to be exclusive at a booth. I want to be inclusive. I want to be the most inclusive vendor that you could possibly find. I want to include that person and that person and that person. I want everybody to be over here throwing a Colo Culture African Print Graduation Sash on their neck. Why in the world would I come out here to be exclusive? If I wanted to be exclusive, I would work at Chanel. I would work at Hermes. I would work at some of those other stores, that lock the door during the day. That's what I would do if I wanted to be exclusive. I don't want to be exclusive. So I go over to the booth. I see that I'm burning time. I've already spent so much of the setup time. I'm burning time. So I'm going over to that booth. I brought some scissors and I cut the zip ties down. I'm on a shaky chair, cutting the zip ties down that were used to put the sides up. I cut them sides down. I threw that material behind the booth and I kept it pushing. I said, there's no way in the world I'm going to sit here in this booth looking like I'm conducting counseling sessions and I'm trying to maintain people's privacy. So anyways, that was one of the first challenges with the setup. And also the fact that so much time has been eaten up. Like we're racing towards 9 o'clock when this event is scheduled to begin. We actually passed the 9 o'clock hour. I have 2 people come to help me at the booth. They live in Compton, which is not far from the stadium. The 2 people who came to help were one of our Black Birthright Scholars and a parent. When I say Black Birthright Scholars, I'm referring to a nonprofit organization that I also run. I have a for-profit business and I also run a nonprofit organization. The for-profit business is only a few months old. That nonprofit I've been running since 2019, and the program is called Black Birthright. So one of our scholars in this year's cohort lives in Compton. She and her mother graciously came and spent the full day helping me at that booth. They are true Black angels sent from Black Jesus. So anyways, I had them, they were there, we're setting up, and we're eating into the time, so I'm rushing, trying to get everything done. And I'm like, I got here at this point over 2 hours ago, and I'm still hustling to get this booth set up, and I'm still, trying to get everything sorted out, which is also what I didn't want. I wanted to be able to set everything up, feel comfortable with everything being laid out, and then be ready to receive my inclusive customers. Didn't work out that way, but I said I'm not going to let this ruin the day. Okay, so we get set up, and after we get set up, I'm seeing people start to come into the event. There's lots of flow of traffic over where I thought there was going to be traffic, which is over at the college booths. And there were also a set of vendors, another set of vendors, not my area of vendors, but another set of product vendors who were along a walkway that led into the college booths. And so that particular area was very busy as well. I was like, man, I wish I had had a booth over there. Why did they not put these vendors, find a way to put these vendors in this side area? Why did they not find a way to intersperse them? Someone may say, well, there wasn't enough space for that, but you cannot take people's money because you have to pay for these booths. You cannot take people's money. You cannot encourage them to fly across country and ship product and do all of these things when you do not put them in a position for even basic success. Having foot traffic, or even being in the flow of foot traffic, is critical to a vendor at these events. Now, if people are coming up to my booth and I can't sell the product, or people are looking at the product and the price is terrible, or people are looking at the product and the product is not high quality, that's all on me. That is on me. But in terms of not even being able to get people to come to where you are, that is a function of the setup. That is a problematic setup. And here's the thing. People were not going to the other vendors in that kind of cordoned off area where I was. So remember, I said there were 12 or 13 vendors off to the side of this building. That entire area, those other vendors over there did not see any traffic either, and they were selling all different kinds of things. So it's not like, oh, people are coming over here, but they're not coming to my booth. No. They're not even coming to this area at all. And also, something else that they did was there were barricades, actual barricades. You know those silver, those heavy silver barricades that the police will put out to direct the flow of traffic? There were barricades in front of this section where we were located. There was an opening in the barricades for people to walk through, but barricades. I said, why is this barricade here? Basically telling people visually, don't go over there. So not only do you have people crossing the street, not only are we not in the flow of traffic, you also put up silver barricades in front of our section. Another vendor later told me that she was the one who moved the barricades. I thought that the event organizers had come and done it at some point in the event. No, she did it. She said that she asked venue security to remove the barricades. They told her it was for security purposes. She asked them, who are you securing? Who are you securing? So she went ahead after they walked off and moved some of those barricades, but she wasn't able to move all of them. And what she did for us was that she opened up that entryway more, but they were still there, which is also very problematic. And as an event organizer, how can you be so negligent of the people who have paid to be at your event that you will permit barricades in front of their booths and their businesses? That I was baffled by that, like baffled, but also trying to manage so many other things that it was difficult to address. So fortunately, someone else in our area, also frustrated, tried to address it. And that's actually another thing I wanted to mention. What I'm sharing about my experience at this event is not a solitary experience. The other people who were attending the event in my section also communicated the same frustrations to me. I'm certainly not going to share who they are because, I want to be respectful of their privacy. Maybe they plan to continue doing these events in the future. However, they were very clear about their frustrations. Many of them had attended this event previously, but in prior years, the event was held at a different location, and they shared with me that they were interspersed with the colleges at those previous events. And as a result of that, they did well, and they were able to sell products and connect with customers and meet people. So anyways, they were very frustrated, by the event setup. So I am not alone in terms of, what I'm sharing. Somebody may be thinking to themselves, well, maybe you don't have a good product, or maybe what you do is, is crappy. I'm telling you, that was not the case here. I mean, in addition to the fact that I know that what we make is top notch, but outside of that, that was not the case here. So anyways, she moved those barricades for us. And as I was talking to some of the event vendors, speaking of talking to event vendors, somebody says to me, Glorilla is going to perform later. I said, Glorilla? I said, Glorilla? Glorilla's performing where? It's even funny to recount. Glorilla is performing where? Where is Glorilla gonna be? Yeah, Glo, at the college fair? She's gonna be out there. It's 7 p.m. Friday, 95 degrees at the college. At the college. Child, I'm like, I'm laughing. You gotta laugh to keep from crying. You gotta laugh to keep from crying, but I'm actually crying with this laughter. Excuse me. I wasn't planning to laugh like that. But I was like, Glorilla. I was like, Glorilla, what is Glorilla doing here? Why would she be here at this college fair? Why would she be here at this college fair, girl? And so the lady puts me on game, and she's like, no, Glorilla is not at this college fair. And what's making me laugh is I actually listened to Glorilla's recent album. And so when she told me that Glorilla was going to be there, all I was thinking in my mind are like Glorilla performing those lyrics at a college fair. You got Morehouse, you got Spelman right there, and here come Glorilla. I know all of those schools, have hip hop artists and so forth perform at their homecomings, but I think it was just like the juxtaposition of academia, getting into college, applying to college, connecting with college recruiters, and yeah, Glo. So anyways, so the woman puts me up on game, and she tells me, no. She says, Glorilla is performing as the closing act at Battle of the Bands, which is sponsored by Honda. Now, when I had gone to the stadium earlier in my confusion of trying to figure out where to be, I noticed that there were multiple very fancy, very flashy Honda vehicles on the SoFi on the SoFi walkway. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that is a massive sponsor to come to a college fair. Honda, here and brought out the cars, throwing open the doors. There's levels to that Honda thing. You got the Accord, and then you move up the ranks. And listen, I'm not disparaging anyone's vehicle. I drive a 2009 Toyota Corolla, and my goal is to drive that until 2030. That is our goal. So anyways, I had noticed those vehicles out there earlier, and I remember thinking to myself, that is a massive sponsor for, this college fair. But come to find out, the college fair was an addendum to a larger event, that larger event being the Battle of the Bands. That is what was inside of SoFi. That is what Honda was sponsoring. That is what was attracting a large number of those people. So I looked in my And I looked back in my welcome materials and in the promotional materials, the marketing information, the sales information that I previously received, and they had mentioned that the Black College Fair was being done in partnership with the Battle of the Bands, but it was not made clear to me that the Battle of the Bands was the event, like the main event, and then the College Fair was a part of that event, right? And that is an important distinction, because when you are the owner of the event and the people are coming to the event for that event and that event alone, it has an impact on traffic and placement and all other kinds of things. You know, you might think, well, what difference does it make? It makes a significant difference. It makes a significant difference. Doesn't mean that I would not have gone. I probably still would have gone, but it was an important thing to know. And so when that woman tells me that Glorilla is performing, it makes sense that all of those bands were in there performing. People were coming from miles and miles around to go to that Battle of the Bands event. So anyways, back to this booth. Back at the booth, I am with our Black Birthright Scholar and her mother, and we are working the booth as people do come over, because some people definitely came over, and we got a handful of sales. But when I say a handful, I quite literally mean a handful of sales. And that's it. I sent out so much product, or I brought a lot of product with me, and paid all of those airline baggage fees to bring these heavy suitcases full of sashes, because I didn't want to be at the event and not have product. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and maximize the investment of coming across the country. I had 735 sashes. Even saying that number makes me feel, I don't know, I like, relative to what we sold, I feel stupid. I feel stupid. Like, how could you not have known that you were not going to sell that many sashes? You had no business packing, that much stuff. You could have brought 200 sashes, 150 sashes. But with 20,000 people there, based on the information that I had about the event and the nature of the event, I was thinking to myself, like, we have such a great product. This is our target audience. Why would I go out there and not take adequate product and potentially sell out very quickly, and again, not have maximized the opportunity? So I brought a lot of product, and we had 4 sales. 4. That's what I meant when I said a handful. Actually, not even a full handful, because you could hold your pinky. We had 4 sales. Now, there were a few things that I learned about those sales. And there were also multiple people who asked for, who requested our card because they wanted to make their purchase online once they found out what color their graduation gown was going to be. There were some folks there who said that they wanted to get matching sashes with classmates or, best friends and things like that. And so then they wanted to go to the website and coordinate, with friends who were not present. I also had a couple of inquiries from Black student groups, like the Black Student Union at a school, saying that they wanted to discuss it with their group about getting a group order of sashes and possibly having some customized embroidery on the sashes, which is something that we do for group orders. So all of this is to say, there were lots of positive inquiries about the product and meaningful inquiries, not just people saying, oh, this is nice, but like positive and meaningful inquiries about the product outside of those four purchases. But I also learned in those 4 purchases is that no one was concerned about the price of our product. Like, no one. That was something that I had been concerned about. The cost of producing our product is not cheap. I can certainly make another video where I can outline to you exactly how much it costs, because I don't have any problem, articulating, what our costs are. But to put it simply for the purpose of this video, our cost of goods is high. In addition to having to bring that good from the African continent to the United States, all of that is expensive, which means that in order for us to be a viable, profitable business, there is a price point which we have to operate at. So I was concerned about our price point, and I think this is, one of the fears that new businesses have. How do I charge for my products? How do I make sure that I don't price people out? I want to get as many customers as possible. And so you have some fear about charging what needs to be charged in order to be a viable business. And that's how a lot of businesses go out of business, because they never get over that fear, or they never find a product that matches the price that they need to charge in order to be a viable business. And so our problem was a fear problem, not the latter problem. It wasn't an issue about having a viable product, but it was really my fear. But those fears were addressed. There wasn't one person who said a word about the price. There wasn't one person who blinked an eye. And those 4 sales that we received, they were purchasing multiple sashes in those sales. So and that was another thing too. I wasn't anticipating that. Our first sale, the woman purchased 3 sashes and then purchased multiple pins, because we also have these I Heart Africa pins. And I was surprised by that. And the same with the subsequent purchasers. They were purchasing multiple sashes. So they were not dissuaded by the pricing at all. They said, like, I remember one of the customers said, I'm going to buy one for my daughter because she's graduating from middle school, and then I'm buying one for my son because he's graduating from high school. And another family came to the booth. The parent bought one for his child, and then they bought one as a gift for the cousin, who I believe also goes to the same school. The cousin wasn't present, who I believe also attends the same school, but then they'll be able to wear their sashes, on graduation day together, which I thought was very nice. I hope that those, people take some pictures and such. But anyways, that wasn't a problem. That wasn't a problem at all. And I think that's what made things so much more frustrating to me. That's what made what happened so heartbreaking to me, is that of the people who did come over to our booth, those people were actually interested in our product. Those people were dropping hundreds of dollars. Those people were asking me about custom orders, asking for my personal email address so that they could get in touch with me, so that they could do orders for their Black student unions and other Black student groups and other community groups and so forth. So that, like, all of that was telling me that you have something here. It's just you're in the Sahara Desert. You're in the doldrums of this event. You're in the wrong spot. And as the event time proceeded, actually, let me just say one more thing. I also printed up a bunch of flyers. I printed up a bunch of flyers. Forgive me if I'm moving around a little bit. I hope the sequence of this story is making sense. But there was so much that happened, and there's so much I wanted to communicate. Even with my notes, I want to make sure that that the story makes sense. So I had made flyers. Do I have a flyer? Here's one. I do have a flyer. Okay, so I'd made some flyers. So these are our flyers. I had some bullet points about, the product. I have the website on the bottom. I have a picture of, of one of our products. But then on the back, I had this Black History quiz. And I thought I was doing something with this quiz. I was like, oh, you did that with that quiz, girl. Apparently I didn't, because I had this quiz on the back, and the idea was we would walk the event floor, we would pass out the flyers, tell people to complete the quiz, bring the quiz over to our booth, and win a prize. I thought it was a great idea. And we passed out 1,000 flyers. However, when I was passing out flyers, because I did a lot of that passing out too, our Black Birthright Scholars mother stayed at the booth, and I was out there. I was talking so much that I had the Tyrone Bigum's lips. My lips were dry and chapped. My voice was hoarse. Even right now, my voice is typically not even at this octave. Like, I don't typically give, a little Barry White realness in my voice. But it's just because of how much talking I was doing yesterday, passing out these flyers, trying to encourage people to come over to the booth. But I also recognized how ridiculous I sounded telling people where the booth was. People would say, oh, where's the booth? And then I would say, oh, okay, turn around. Go down this aisle, walk across the street, go to the right of that building, over in that nook, look to the right, go through the barricades, and then you'll find me. People are looking at me like, what over the river and through the woods kind of instructions are these, ma'am? I came here for a college fair. I didn't come to do a Navy SEAL operation to look for your booth. I mean, people were friendly. Nobody said anything like that to me at all. People were very friendly. But still, as I'm telling people where the booth is, I'm also recognizing the absurdity of this situation. So even after passing out all of those flyers, we were not getting the kind of traffic. And so I actually don't know if this Black History quiz was a good idea or not, just because of the fact that our location trumped those efforts. So what else, child? What else happened? At some point in the event, I was dissatisfied with the state of the affairs. I was dissatisfied from jump, but at some point my dissatisfaction reached peak dissatisfaction. And so I walked the main area where the colleges were located. And I said, I wonder if any of these colleges didn't show up. And I'm going to set our booth up at one of these empty tables where the colleges didn't show up before the event ends. I found multiple empty tables where colleges had not shown up, which also begged the question, why did the event organizers not confirm those colleges' attendance so that you could have then gotten those vendors out of the cut and put them in with everyone else? Because some of them may have just been genuine no-shows, but why was there no confirmation of who was coming and who wasn't coming? Because if you realize that you had a number of colleges who didn't show up, you could have used that prime real estate for folks who were present. But nobody ever came over to us and said, hey, listen, Alabama A&M isn't here. So-and-so college isn't here. Come on over and use their booth table. Nobody ever did that. This is just me being industrious, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. So I take a shell of our materials. I didn't transfer the whole booth because it's so much stuff at this point. So I take a shell of our materials over to one of these empty college tables, a college that did not show up. And in that time that we were there, like only a few minutes, we got multiple sales. Like of those 4 sales that I mentioned, and we also got multiple inquiries. People asking for flyers, asking for the website, asking how long it's going to take for their orders to arrive if they make their order online. And I was like, are you for real right now? Had we been over here in this walkway, in this area, and in retrospect, I wish that I had looked at where that booth location was, and I wish I had said, oh no, like my mother says, oh no. And I wish I had been more proactive about saying, no, we're not going to set up over here in the desert. We are going to go to one of these empty tables. Now, I don't know if the event organizers would have allowed that, but maybe I should have pitched a fit until it happened. Or maybe I would have gotten kicked off the property. I don't know. There was a lot of security moving around at SoFi Stadium, or SoFi Stadium grounds, because like I told you, we were not at the actual stadium, but all out there, all up and through the parking lot, there were a lot of people working security. So who knows how that would have turned out. But I just wish that I had been proactive earlier about getting out of that spot, especially considering the event wasn't even that long. And by the time we got over there, people are flooding to the stadium to go to the Battle of the Bands. Battle of the Bands, starts. And so that's where people are going, people are heading over to the stadium. And I just felt like crying. I felt like crying, and I did cry. I felt like crying, and I did cry. I did not do so in front of our scholar and her mother because I didn't want them to feel like, in addition to the fact that they had been so helpful with that event, I had items shipped to their house. They brought them. They were there early. They had been out there with me all day for 7 hours, passing out flyers. I didn't want them to feel like, in addition to all of the effort that they had made, they were now responsible for consoling me and trying to make me feel better. So I was really just like holding it together. But when I got to that car, baby, I cried and I cried and I cried. I was so upset. I was so disappointed. I was thinking about the money, even in baggage fees alone, taking these heavy suitcases, baggage fees and airline and hotel and I mean, I even have a friend who lives here in Los Angeles. I'm not referring to the scholar and her mother. They are my friends, but this is not the person I'm talking about. I have a friend who lives in Los Angeles, and I was going to stay at her home, but because of the wildfires, she was displaced. Now, fortunately, she did not lose her home. She's back in her home, and everything is fine for her. But I didn't want the burden of potentially her having a guest, while these wildfires were going on, and the outlay of that. I didn't want that to be a thing. So I went ahead and booked a hotel reservation, and then by the time she told me, she assured me everything is fine, you can definitely come and stay here. I wasn't able to get a refund of my hotel. So all of this is to say it was just an outlay of expenses. But beyond the expenses, I'm thinking about that time, that preparation time. I was up all kinds of hours. I am physically sore right now from hauling bags and lifting things. Like, even my hands are swollen. Now, I mean, on any given day, I got a big hearty hand. On any given Sunday, I got a big hand. But my hands are swollen and they are sore from like the lifting and the pulling and the pushing and managing all of these products, and my feet. And I burned my arm on an iron. I don't even know if you can see that. Burn my arm on an iron in my basement, trying to prep the sashes, because when I give people their product, I can't make sure that it's perfectly it's perfectly ironed to a T, but I also don't want to give people a wrinkled product by any means. So so I pre-iron the product so that when they get home, they may have to do a little touch up before they put it on and wear it at graduation or wherever they wear it to. But I was devastated. I was devastated. And as a small business, as an entrepreneur just starting out, it just felt like blow after blow after blow. And I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. But I didn't have a whole lot of time to stay heartbroken, because I had to take that car and load up. So, I had a little breakdown for a moment. I wiped my face and then went and loaded up the car. And after I loaded up the car, I was trying to figure out if I should wait until the event in SoFi finished, because, like, chronologically speaking, the college fair happened in the morning, the Battle of the Bands began in the afternoon, but there was going to be a massive let out from that Battle of the Bands. So while I'm loading up this vehicle and having this breakdown, I can hear the bands in the stadium going. I can hear the people on the microphone, the MC going. The stadium is rocking. And I was thinking to myself, there is going to be a massive let out of people from that event. I should move this booth up closer to the stadium, not actually on that front area where those other vendors were that I mentioned earlier this morning, but somewhere close to it. I saw people out there selling hot dogs and t-shirts and other kinds of things, and nobody was bothering them. So I said, let me go and set up there as well. I drive my car over there. I backed the car up into a parking space that borders where I could set up, which would have meant that, because by this time, the scholar and her mother had left, it had been a long day for them, and and they went on with their day. So I was by myself, and I didn't want to be standing out there with all that inventory just like on the ground by myself. So I said, what I can do is I can back this car up. I can put I can pop the trunk. I can put the table in front of the trunk, and then I can work with the products out of the trunk, and then I can have a few items on the table, and then I can play the let out. I remember we used to talk about that when I was in college, play the let out. Back then it was, seeing who was coming out of the club, who was coming out of the party, anybody you didn't talk to inside, you could talk to outside. The whole parking lot was like a whole other event. I was trying to do that and get my dollars up. But as I back into the spot, the car to my immediate right was a car full of young men. Two of the young men are outside of the car, and one of the two is speaking. So one of them is speaking to the other, and he is yelling. His voice is very, he's yelling. He's being very aggressive, but I can tell he's not actually talking to that person, in the sense his anger and aggression is not directed to that individual. He's talking about someone else. So you know how you be yelling and you're talking to someone about what you're yelling about, but you're not yelling at that person. So he was talking to him, but he wasn't yelling at him. And then I hear him say, "We're going to go and get those." And I was like, oh no. Oh no. Then they jump out of the car. The remainder of the people in the back of the car jump out of the car and start walking very fast, like behind my vehicle towards this area where there were a bunch of people standing around. And I was like, oh, see, now I have to go. Now I cannot pop my trunk and sell my sashes because y'all about to fight out here. And this cannot be the day that I flew to LA, burned thousands of valuable dollars, wasted thousands of hours of time. I would say hundreds of hours of time, thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours of time. Although I would imagine that I have spent thousands of hours. But as it pertains to this event, in preparation for this event specifically, hundreds of hours of time. It can't be the day that all that happened and the day I also got shot. That all can't happen on the same day. That cannot happen. I have to close this trunk and I have to pull out. I've got to pull out. I got to pull out and I gotta go. I'm not going to be able to set up these sashes and get shot over my sashes. And I knew that I wasn't exaggerating about what was happening, because I'm not prone to exaggeration. I came from a home where exaggeration was strictly prohibited. You tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But I'm not prone to exaggeration. But I also was validated in my concerns because event security came over and was yelling at not only those young men, but also a number of other people to go to their cars. Like, stop lingering in this outdoor area. And by this time, lots of people are starting to come out of the event. Like, this was the let out that I was hoping to play. But lots of people are starting to come out of the event and security is screaming at the top of their lungs, "Go to your car, go to your car." And I was like, this doesn't feel like the kind of environment where I'll really be able to talk to someone about the benefits of a bespoke sash. It doesn't feel like the kind of place I could get out my Shopify payment system and somebody would hand me their credit card, for a purchase. So even after having closed out the college event, loaded the car, and went to this other area trying to salvage the day, that still did not work out, just because it was about to be Fight Club out there. It was about to be Fight Club. It was a mess. It was a mess. I drove off. Came back to the hotel and had to organize all of that stuff, because when we packed the car, we didn't pack the car, perfectly in the way that I need to pack everything to go back home. I was in the hotel parking lot, organizing sashes and packing boxes and reviewing inventory and just like reviewing my life. I was in that car singing Negro spirituals. We shall, all of it. All of it. I was out there wading in the water. It was easily one of the most disappointing days of my life. Easily one of the most disappointing days. It's such an extraordinary letdown, such extraordinary frustration, such missed opportunity. But yeah, let me check my notes. I've been talking. This is my first video. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. No, I told you all about the car. I told you about the other vendors. I told you about the fight. Speaking of fights, I forgot to mention something. Okay, so I just told you about how when I backed up that car, trying to salvage the day and play the let out, that people were out there about to fight. I found out earlier in the day that when the woman told me that this was a vendor, by the way. So another vendor over in the Sahara Desert, over in the Doldrums of desperation. Another vendor told me that the event used to be held at the LA Convention Center. And that last year's event ended early because people were fighting at the event. Fighting at the college fair. I couldn't believe it. I said the event ended early last year because people were fighting. My sales rep told me that they moved from the LA Convention Center because the event had gotten so large. She didn't tell me that the reason why, and I mean, granted, would one expect a sales representative to say, yes, we've had to relocate as a result of altercations at our events. I mean, but still, I had no idea that the reason why the event, actually, I'll say this. I don't know if the LA Convention Center kicked them out. Maybe the LA Convention Center said, you can come back again another year. And maybe they really did move because of the size of the event. But two things can be true. Maybe your event did get large and your event attendees were fighting. That is what a vendor told me. And she said it with great confidence. And she also was a vendor at, in previous years as well. I have no reason not to believe that woman. And considering what I saw myself, when I was trying to parking lot pimp my sashes, considering what I saw myself, it really validated what she was telling me about the prior year's event. I couldn't believe it. I've also signed up for that DC event that I told you about. I'm still signed up for that original event. Like, that was the one that I originally signed up for. That happens in March. And I also signed up for an Atlanta event. I'm not going to be able to do it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm genuinely at a place where I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Because of how everything happened is so raw. I don't know if I'm just speaking out of frustration, if I'm not really sure. If I should go back to them and talk to them about booth placement and get some assurances on certain things, if I should just scrap the whole thing. I do not know what to do. Because DC would also be a lower investment. I can drive from New Jersey to DC. I can stay with my parents. I just don't know what to do. But yeah, that's what happened. It was a failure. And I got to go back home with all those sashes. I got to tell the team in Senegal. I mean, I got to, talk to our lead tailor, and operations manager there. The woman who owns the studio. She's the woman who owns the studio where we do our work. She is the operations director. She is the lead tailor. She is my partner, and the team of people who work on our sashes. I got to tell them that this thing that I had so much hope for just did not, it didn't come together. I'm not about to cry in here. I'll cry from laughter, but I'm not about to. Let me find I got a napkin from Chipotle, because after the event yesterday, I went to Chipotle. All the Mexican food in Los Angeles, and I went to Chipotle. But yeah. Trouble don't last always. Trouble don't last. Bumps in the road. There's bumps in the road, but I just wanted to share this story. I wanted to share this story and let people know, if you're struggling with your business, if you're struggling with any kind of project that you're working on, understand that there are partners in the struggle and that the struggle is real. Sometimes I go on YouTube and I feel like I see a lot of success stories from people. And I also do see my fair share of people, keeping it real about what's going on, with their lives and their businesses. But I see a lot of success stories, how I made $1 billion in 15 minutes, all of that kind of stuff. But I wanted to just share this story so that people understand a little bit more about our business. I'm going to also, make a concerted effort, to make more videos, to tell more, stories, because I got stories to tell. I run that nonprofit. I run this business. There's a lot, there's a lot going on. And there's a lot in my head. I'm out here. I'm in these streets. I am the real deal. So I have a lot to share. But if you made it to this point, I want to just say thank you. Thank you.